Well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema Studio, Laura, Jonathan. Just a pleasure to have you guys in here to talk about this movie that really is a celebration of LA, which is where I live. But it does get a hard time a lot of the time, especially from outsiders. Laura, just the way you captured, the actual landscape, the colors, the characters, the concrete is pretty beautiful. What made you want to reach out to Jonathan and help him engage kind of the public in this way?
There are a couple of reasons. I think the main reason was that when I had moved to Los Angeles, I really didn't want to move there. I moved to go to graduate school and thought I would hate it. I kind of went there with all the sort of typical prejudices. And I started reading Jonathan's writing, and it slowly began to change the way I looked at the city, because it got me out of my neighborhood and explored different neighborhoods, and I really started to see the beauty and the kind of paradoxical things, interesting things that are within the city.
Yeah. For filmmaking, food is often one of those kind of intangible things that, films like Ratatouille did so well, is like recall all the emotions that are attached to food and eating. Mm-hmm. This film, obviously with you, Jonathan, as the heart, really kind of has that same emotional thread. It's that you have this, you can see that you have this real joy in discovering and enlightening people. I don't know if that's is that a case where you're just looking for the best thing for yourself, or do you really do like sharing and revealing and bringing other people as a community into these places?
Well, food is definitely the way that I look at the world. I mean, it's a really interesting lens. But I suppose if I have anything that I'm trying to do other than, the obvious job of being a food critic, it's to bring people into neighborhoods they wouldn't ordinarily go to get people to live in all of Los Angeles instead of their one neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so there are places that you might, hear about on the news sometimes, or you might see on a map, like, Bell or Compton or Paramount or Whittier, and there's actually no reason to go to those places, but you hear there's a restaurant, and you get in your car and you go, and you find that you're talking to people you wouldn't have talked to otherwise. You're smelling smells and tasting things you wouldn't have experienced otherwise, and it makes you feel like part of a larger whole.
Yeah. There was one phrase that you used about LA that I found was particularly poignant, which is that it's not really a melting pot, it's more of a glittering mosaic.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's such a perfect encapsulation of, we've got all these little towns and all these little villages within that encompass the greater LA, that you really do go and have these completely different experiences all around the city.
Yeah, in a lot of cities like, say, New York or Chicago, I mean, people live, even, quite affluent people live in apartments that aren't beautiful, and they tend to entertain in restaurants, and if you live in New York, you're going to take the subway and you're going to sort of see everybody.
Yeah.
So if you're, say, a Filipino person opening a restaurant in Queens, you may not get many non-Filipino customers, but you're certainly expecting them, and you're certainly have ideas about tailoring your food to them. Los Angeles, because it's more insular, because we do have so many communities where, say, it's possible to live your entire life without speaking anything but Korean or Spanish or Tagalog. You can go to Koreatown and there'll be a mall, and all the signs will be in Korean, and you won't have any idea what anybody serves. And if you walk in, you're going to get the same soup that they make for everybody else, because they don't actually care enough about you to cook a special way for you. And there's something kind of great about that.
Yeah.
And it lets you, it's more of a through the looking glass thing, where you actually like fall into sort of an alternate universe, and you come out okay on the other end, and it's great fun.
Yeah. And between the time that you started, perhaps happily, accidentally, editing a food guide, and then working your way into food criticism, there's been such a marked shift in the popularization of food and chefs, and that's been a pretty remarkable thing over the last 10 years. Do you now find that there's like kind of an added burden, an added responsibility because of how kind of famous chefs are becoming and that sort of commercialization of it all?
Well, I mean, the idea of the celebrity chef probably began in Los Angeles with Wolfgang Puck. I mean, he was the first chef that was like regularly on the Tonight Show, and he was somebody that people all across the country knew, even if they'd never tasted his food. But the interesting thing about food at the moment is not the popularity of it, the celebrity of it. It's the idea of food becoming, in a way, what rock and roll may have been in the 60s. It's a way for people to form tribes, right? So you have tribe vegan, and you have tribe nose to tail, and you have tribe locavore. And some of these people will coincide in different things, but they all fly their own particular flags, and they all have their own particular causes, and they have festivals that they go to sometimes with hundreds of thousands of people, and it's really exciting to be the person covering this and being able to cover it in sort of a cultural way instead of the traditional sort of food journalist thing where you just talk about how the sommelier might differ this way or that from a classic sommelier.
Yeah. Laura, for you, having a singular focus or a singular focal point to this documentary, for you, is that freeing or is that claustrophobic in a sense?
Well, I think it was great. I mean, I really wanted to show I knew the film was about Los Angeles and Jonathan, so it's kind of a way to figure out how to synthesize those two things.
Yeah.
Because people would ask me what it's about, and I would say, well, it's both, But so in making the film, it was really about how do we bring those two ideas together and show it cinematically.
Yeah.
That was the challenge.
Yeah.
And the challenge was actually photographing Los Angeles because it's, the horizontality and the, in some ways, sameness, right? Like if you go just take a shot in New York, you're in New York City.
You're right.
If you just take one shot in LA, you don't really know where you are.
Right.
Unless maybe there's a palm tree or some other kind of, unless you're shooting the Hollywood
or a street sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about kind of finding the right images and the juxtaposition of the images and having it really feel like it was from Jonathan's POV.
And was that the first time you've used drone camera work and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was really exciting. And we started doing it at the very end. Jerry Henry, our DP, started experimenting with it because he got a new drone and it completely changed the movie. Not completely changed it, but it just opened up the movie in this really other way. And we really tried to use the drone in places that weren't sort of stereotypically LA,
Yeah. Did it draw attention?
The drone itself?
Just the act of drone filmmaking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Did it mean that you had to get
of
some different permits and other things that you can...
Yes, but we did not. But he's bold. He shot Banksy doc, so he's used to kind of, guerrilla style.
Yeah. Most filmmakers have these tales of horrid catering. Did you was there a hand coming out from behind the scenes tasting what was going on in front of the camera? Did you get to eat at all the places?
Oh, sometimes. I mean, I feel like I either got to eat really well or not at all, because sometimes we would just wrap and have to get out of the restaurant, and it wasn't time. But we did have a lot of really wonderful meals with Jonathan.
Yeah.
We invite the whole crew to the table, and we'd all eat, and it was really fun.
Very cool.
And there was a lot of guilt involved sometimes when I would have this really good meal in front of the camera, and everybody would be sit there filming, and they wouldn't be eating. And it's like, eat!
Really want us
There's
to
no
eat.
other purpose to be here.
Yeah, which is the way that the film opens, right? It's that quote. It's basically eat, and then everything else comes afterwards.
Yeah.
Is empathy a good thing? We have this classic, vision, this caricature of a critic that's basically it's us against them. There's a barrier between those two things, and I know there's a cover story in the LA Times talking about you and the concept of anonymity for food critics. But for you, there's two things. When you won the Pulitzer Prize, there was in the reason in the little comment that they gave for why you got it, there was the word delight in there, which I thought was super cool, that you bring a certain joy to things, and getting awarded a prize like that for having and bringing that joy is kind of a rare combination. But similarly, the way you seem to empathize with these people that are opening these restaurants and trying to bring these foods to people seems to be kind of rare amongst your peerage. Would you agree with that, or would you, like, how do you feel about that?
Well, there is that caricature of the restaurant critic that, I mean, as you mentioned, like Ratatouille sort of pushes it to its ultimate extreme, where it makes us have to be these creatures who are always trying to find something wrong, the flaw in the sauce, the meat that's slightly overcooked, the fish that has slightly turned. And we're not like that at all. I mean, it's at least me, I'm always looking for something good. I'm looking for something that's going to blow me away. And I'm disappointed when I don't get it, when what I'm eating is just ordinary. But I'm always looking for, like, the one thing, the one flash of brilliance, the one sort of juxtaposition of herbs or use of cumin in a place I hadn't expected, or having, say, fried pig's ear for garnish, which was really, really clever, like the first dozen times.
Right.
And
it's like the bacon movement for a while. Everything had bacon.
And I do tend to write mostly positive reviews, and when they're not, they're instructive, because really, if there's a restaurant that you're gonna take some time to go to, and you're probably not gonna go there unless I tell you about it. And I mean, what am I gonna do? Say, yeah, this restaurant that's 40 miles away, behind the behind the dumpster under the freeway overpass. It's no good. There's no point.
You can't find it, and you don't want to.
Unless I think it's like a place that's genuinely ripping off the public.
Very cool.
Then, yeah, that's my responsibility.
So, final question for you both, and I know it might be hard to pinpoint for you, Jonathan, especially between the kind of cellist kind of upbringing, classical music, to the hard rock and all that sort of stuff. But for each of you, stuck on a desert island, one album, one type of cuisine, or one ingredient, please. What is it? What is it? Laura? What's your musical...
I can't believe you're asking this.
Yep, it's happening.
I think I would, and it's not just because I saw the film at the festival, but Nina Simone.
Yep.
Type of food, that's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because it changes. But today...
Yeah, what's been the recent addiction?
I guess I would, I just have to say, I don't know, I keep thinking of like Pho Minh, the place that closed, Although desert island, maybe not pho on a desert island, but probably Vietnamese.
Awesome. Jonathan?
Weirdly enough, though I do have, I have been known for writing about, heavy metal and gangster rap. I think that, like, say, chamber music from, let's say, mid-Mozart through the death of Brahms. And as far as the cuisine, it's probably a cop-out to say Chinese, which I could eat every meal, every day, because there's so many hundreds of different kinds of Chinese food.
Very cool.
So if I had to narrow it down, maybe Sichuan food and really, really, really expensive French food.
Very cool. I would love having you in here this morning. Thanks for the caramels as well.
Yeah.
Thanks and congratulations on the movie.
Thanks so much.